So I'm sitting there and I'm picking at my face, man, like a true junkie in the moment. And I'm using my phone, the camera, to look at my face, right? And as I'm doing that, I accidentally hit a button and the camera changes. And I'm like, that was weird. Whatever. I put it down. Look at my phone a couple hours later. I was using the Instagram camera. I posted myself picking my face on Instagram. So I moved to Orange County and I become best friends with this guy named Robert, who was 2 years older than me. So I was 22, he was 24 or 25. And me and him went down a very long, dark path of doing coke and selling it with a couple other friends. That's when I started going to jail and stuff. That's when my first encounters with that's when we started getting into oxy. And that really took a sharp turn because we start doing the pills, to kind of manage the come down and the blow. We'd go out, party all night, and do the pills. And we started getting addicted to the pills, and then fentanyl started getting in the pills.
Why did they kick you out of the band? All right. So we are recording with a budding junkie Instagram. Are you on TikTok too?
I am on TikTok.
A budding junkie and YouTube too?
Oh, yeah.
A budding junkie YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok star, the Noddygod, also known as Dakota. Welcome to the show.
What's up, David? Thanks so much for having me, man. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, man. You're friends with Jimmy Who MU.
Yeah, that's who initially kind of inspired me to make content. When I saw his reels, I saw it as a recovering addict and thought, that's something I could do, maybe,
So you're from San Diego, and if anyone doesn't know what you look like, you are a young man with tattoos all over your body and your face, and you do a brilliant Instagram account. I don't pay much attention to the other things, so I'm going to mention Instagram because I follow it. I'm hooked on Instagram. Fucking where you show people nodding out, and then you give commentary of how good their nod is in sort of a sportscaster style, celebrating the nod. Where did you get the idea? When did you start?
Okay, originally I got the idea because I was making addiction content and I had seen another page do something where they were reviewing dirty cups, like cups of lean, and I just thought that was funny. And then it just occurred to me as someone who used to nod, like, oh my God, there are so many influencers who post nods and so many pages that are just dedicated to it. Why is nobody rating these, So at first it just started as a humorous, satirical thing. But as time went on and a little community built around it, I kind of started to see that a lot of other addicts related in a way. They were able to get something out of it in the sense of they thought it was funny and it made them feel not so bad about their own past.
Sure. I mean, the nod for me, nodding was like everything. And everything I did in my life was to try to facilitate how to catch a nod. That was my
Yeah.
life. So I think it's a fantastic notion. Now, most of the videos, where do you get them?
Most of the videos, the first half that I did were probably all sent to me by Creatures of New York, which is another Instagram page that I befriended a while ago. But after the first 15 videos, it's just user submissions, either of themselves after they've gotten sober or just other viral clips floating around the internet of people nodding that they send me.
That is awesome. Have you ever heard of there was this guy, I want to say his name is, I can't believe I can't remember his name. I think his name was Brian, and he was a big Dopey fan, and he started a podcast called The Nod Squad. Did you ever hear of that?
No, I didn't, but you got to link me in with him. That's awesome.
I don't know what happened to him. Like he was in and out, in and out, in and out, and I haven't heard from him. He used to be like a huge member of our community, but he dipped, totally dipped, and I have not heard anything from him in a million years. But if you ever look, I mean, 7 years, if you look, or 6 years or something like that, if you look up like top addiction podcasts, though, his shit still ranks the Nod Squad, and the Nod God should be on the Nod Squad if the Nod Squad existed. When
Well,
what were you gonna say?
I'll definitely try to reach out. I'm gonna look up the Nod Squad because that seems like, two peas in a pod right there.
It all rhymes too. Nod Squad, Nod God, and two peas in a pod.
Yeah,
Like
right?
a lot of rhyming. Um, then there's also the Against All Odds pod. Be a whole song about nods and pods and gods and squads. Anyway, when's the first time you got high?
13. 13 years old. I was, I was already curious because my father was an addict and I had seen him using off and on throughout my life. But middle school, me and my friends, we found a bag of pills in his brother's room, and we didn't even know what they were. That's how uneducated we were. We were just like, "Oh, cool, pills," and we took them, and
Right.
they were something because we were unconscious on the floor for a few hours, but that experience led me to my first experience was like pills, and then I started smoking, kind of quickly after smoking and drinking. So 13 is when things started for me.
What kind of addict was your dad?
Amphetamines, meth.
So he was like a serious meth guy, and you would see him high all the time.
Yeah, he was in and out of my life a lot, so I'd go, months and months without seeing him, and then he'd reappear for a few months, and like you said, he wouldn't use directly in front of me, but he would be high around me a lot. So his actions were really sporadic.
What about your mom?
My mom is a really sweet woman. She's awesome. She had me when she was 18, so just a young mother, and she did the best job that she possibly could, but it's hard to protect your kids from drugs, It's even if you're a really good mom, sometimes you can't steer them away from that if they're dead set on it.
Well, especially if the and were your parents together?
No, they weren't. So I was back and forth most of my life, kind of between the two households, like weekends, weekdays, kind of thing.
And did your dad just have pills in the house, kind of because like anybody that fucks with meth is going to want to be able to come down eventually?
Yeah, he did, but that's actually not where we found the pills originally. We found them in my friend's brother's room.
Tell me the story if you can remember. What was it?
We okay, so I was 13 and I was with my friend Dylan. We just got off middle school and we go back to his parents' house. And mind you, I was living in Poway, so a lot of the people there have money. Like they have nice big houses. So it's a big fancy house, and his brother just got sent to rehab, and he jokingly was like, "We should see if my brother left anything in his room." And at the time, I didn't even really intend to do it. I was kind of just like, "Yeah, we'll check." But we did. We found a bag of pills, and looking back, they were probably pain pills of some kind. And we took them up and we crushed them up and we snorted them because that's what we thought you did.
You
You
were right.
know,
You were right. You knew what you were doing. And then from there, you were like, let's drink, let's smoke, let's be these kinds of kids, kind of thing.
yeah, it happened really quick. I mean, I didn't really have a path at that point. A lot of kids were playing sports or into music young, and I was just kind of floating. And so when I found out you could get high, and then I started smoking, it was just a constant thing for me.
Smoking bud.
Yeah.
And like, was your identity totally like bud?
Oh my God, man. You should have seen my MySpace page. It's like so embarrassing. It was like weed leaves in the background and Snoop Dogg playing, and I was like 13.
Well, I mean, bud is an amazing thing. When I fell in love with weed, I was so happy to have found it and have it shape my identity, and it's also like, I mean, I don't smoke weed. I haven't smoked weed in a while, but it's like if somebody could just smoke weed and get on with their life and enjoy marijuana, it's like that seems like a pretty good deal. Um,
Yeah. Well, full transparency, because I try to work on this now that I'm in a better direction. I do smoke every once in a while, so I guess I'm not completely sober, as the community would call it. But I haven't touched anything else in about 7 years, so I've been
that
doing good.
So I want to hear your trajectory. Like you're the stoner kid with a MySpace page. And when do you fucking start getting tattoos?
So that's I'll segue into that through this. So when I turned like 14, me and Jacob meet, right? Or
Is
maybe
that
13.
is
Me
that
and Jacob.
Jacob fucking what's his face? Jacob Knoll.
Yeah. Yes, Jacob Knoll. He sings for Sublime now, but when we were kids, I met him when I was 13 and he was 12, and we met playing laser tag.
Awesome.
And we really clicked. We both grew up around addiction in our household, and we both smoked. So we started a band together when I was about 15, 16, and we both moved out right when we turned 18, and that's the day I started getting tattooed. The second I turned 18.
And what kind of band did you have with Jacob?
Ska adjacent, definitely. It was really influenced by like the Gorillaz, Sublime, obviously. Jake had a lot of like metal influences at the time, so we had some heavier songs also.
And what
Um,
was that like being from San Diego, California, and your best friend is like the prince of whatever you call it, alternative music, reggae, junkie music, and his father is this ridiculously talented and also, symbol of excess. Like, what does that shape your experience as a teenager at all?
it it definitely did. I don't think either of us, when we were really young, had a huge grasp on how influential Sublime was. I knew from my own life because I listened to it, but it wasn't until we got to like 15, 16 and started going like to shows and parties that people would start coming up and being like, "Oh my God, you're Jacob Knoll. You got to come back and hang out with us." It definitely got us into a lot of shows. I can say that. Like we went and saw Slightly Stupid and all those guys a bunch of times.
Well, I told you I got to meet him and interview him when I was in Los Angeles. And I'm a very big Sublime fan. And I think the story is so crazy. Like the Bradley Knoll story is so crazy that he died just when that band was exploding and just when
Yeah.
Jacob was born. So, like, all of the fallout from that is, it's very compelling, crazy, sad, but also very inspirational. Now Jacob's playing with Sublime, and he seems like he's getting into it because he was nervous. Like when I interviewed him, it was just before Sublime. It started with him, and I could feel him kind of not exactly sure if that's really what he wanted to do. And I haven't spoken to him since, but just from the outside, it looks like he's really enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, I think at first, honestly, as we could probably all imagine, like it's very daunting to try to step outside of the shadow of something that's already so big. You know what I mean? And try to take it as your own and take it in a new direction again. And I think that his anxiety about that was the anxiety most people would have, just kind of taking over such a big project that's a legacy that was your father's and doing it honor. And I think once he started doing it and realized he was capable of doing it in a way that was really meaningful to him, I think a lot of that anxiety went away and he really came into his own performing for them because he's like you said, he's been killing it. He's been doing a great job.
For sure. And Bradley being this, this kind of like very, very renowned musician and creative, but also heroin addict. How often, when you're with Jacob and you're around town, are people wanting to get high with you?
Oh God, when we were young, all the time because we gave that energy out that we were receptive to that. Now very rarely. Every once in a while at a show, someone will come up to us and be like, "You guys want to go party?" But we just say, "Nope, we're sober. Thank you, though."
No, but as kids, how did it shape you?
Oh, negatively, definitely. I mean, we had so much access to using more than most people do probably till they're in their 20s. When we were teenagers, we had like full access to like everything that you could ever do even as an adult, and that wasn't good because not only were we addicts at a young age, but we were kids. We had no idea of the long-term effects of doing these kind of things all the time, you know?
So like when's the first time like you the first drug you did is fucking hard drugs and then you kind of become stoner drinker guy. When do drugs start creeping in again?
15. 15, we start dabbling with cocaine. Um, you know, mostly at home. Like I'd go over to Jake's house and we'd go out to a friend and buy something and just hide in his room, you know, and just kind of hole up. Or we'd use one of the various connections, you know, I don't want to name anyone, but just people we knew that were close to us that didn't really have a problem with it at that time. So yeah, it was negative.
When you're kids, are you like and I mean you're is your dad still alive?
He is still alive. He still has addiction problems, but he is still alive.
So when you're kids, both of you with these fathers with total addiction, like it's, you know, total addiction, both of you. Your dad was using when you were kids, still using. Jacob's dad dies of it, and you guys are starting to use. Is there ever a talk of like we have to be careful?
Yes. There is, but we many times we make the distinction that I'm never going to do speed, you know, amphetamines, and that he's never going to do opiates. That was like kind of like the line in the sand that we had, that as long as we didn't cross that, we weren't, you know, repeating mistakes made before, which, you know, was BS because we both crossed that line. No looking back, you know. It just was a matter of time when you're doing that. But yeah, we tried. I mean, we were good friends, so we tried to steer each other in a good direction. But when you're both actively using, it just escalates no matter what.
It's weird. I mean, like when I started using heavy, like I knew it was going to be a problem and I would probably talk, but my parents were middle class Jewish teachers. They weren't fucking junkies. And I didn't think I was going to become a junkie, but I would say to my friend, like, we can't do this every day. You know, we don't want to get strung out, whatever. But that was without like real evidence in front of us. What's the first drug besides bud that you really fell in love with?
Oh, cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because you know, when you're 15 and something suddenly takes away all your social anxiety and fear of talking to girls, it's like surreal. It's like, oh my, why didn't anyone show me this before? You know?
It's the answer to all your problems, right?
Yeah, or at least I felt like it did.
And how are you paying for it? And what are you drinking? What is that? Cold
Coffee.
brew? Cold brew?
Just a iced I make coffee and then I just let it cool off over the day and just pour it over some ice.
Nice. So like how would you pay for Coke? How would you use it? And how much were you doing?
Well, I think like a lot of young people who start using, I initially started paying by lying to my family about whatever I was doing to get money.
Classic.
Yeah, you know, going to the movies, we're going to go to an amusement park or something. Just, you know, and eventually those excuses run out and they start being like, no, you know. But, you know, also I started working fairly young. I started working around 16, 17, like doing odd moving jobs with my stepdad and stuff. So I had some cash flow, but
And
mostly just people giving us drugs, to be honest.
right, right. And then when do you find yourself feeling like you're an addict?
Oh, I think probably around 20 is when I started having the first visible signs of addiction, to where I had been using off and on, but around 20 is when I started not really playing shows without drinking or doing some yayo. Uh, just my life started to revolve around it. Like I had to have stuff for before work, after work, and then around 21, I started using speed again while I was in the band with Jake. And man, I ruined my life in like 2 months flat. I completely ruined it.
Well, what instrument did you play?
Bass. I play guitar and bass, but I play bass mostly for bands.
What was it called?
Law, LAW.
Nice. I think he mentioned that band to me. Did you? You didn't listen. You should listen to the interview with him. I should have made you listen to the interview with him first. But fucking. So when did you done speed before that?
A few times growing up, with some family friends that were older men in my life who I, trusted and would be doing it from time to time. And one time I just asked when I was like 15, "Hey, can I try that?" And at first they were like, "No," but I asked one more time and they said yes. So
Did you fall in love with speed right away?
I, I mean, the instant I inhaled it into my lungs, I had like so much euphoria and I didn't even know what to do with myself. So yeah, definitely, I fell in love with it. It was a lot. It was a lot though, because I was so young that when I came off of it, it kind of traumatized me because I was crashing for a few days and I didn't know. I had no context for that experience.
Totally. And when you're 20 and you're starting to be like, maybe this is a little too much. Like, would you say uppers were the thing that you loved the most?
At first, uppers are what the first phase of my addiction mostly was until said time where I got kicked out of the band and was just doing speed all the time, showing up to crazy shows, acting crazy, or just not showing up. Uh, After
Do
that,
you have a good meth story of that period you'd like to share?
oh my gosh, do I ever? It's a good one. You're gonna love this. So I'm sitting there. I'm sitting there on the couch, and I'm twisting the pizzo, because that's what you do. And I'm just sitting there looking at my phone, and I
No,
realize
hello. What is twisting the pizzo?
it's when you go 10 to 2 as a little
Yes,
glass pipe.
twisting the pizzo. God bless you.
Yeah,
I used to smoke meth in Southern California, and I never got to hear that expression. So thank you. Keep going.
yeah, yeah. I got you, man. I've always liked that phrasing of it. But so I'm sitting there, and I'm picking at my face, man, like just a true junkie in the moment. And I'm using my phone, the camera, to look at my face, right? And as I'm doing that, I accidentally hit a button and the camera changes. And I'm like, that was weird. Whatever. I put it down. Look at my phone a couple hours later. I was using the Instagram camera.
Oh my
I
God.
posted myself picking my face on Instagram, and I was so twacked out, I didn't even realize it. I was someone called me a few hours later and was like, "Bro, have you lost your mind? Like, take that down right now."
It's funny because I'm sure you are not the only person to do that. I feel like I've seen videos of people doing that where in the old days it seemed like people were less aware of what they were doing and you might see more of that kind of thing. And so you took it right down.
Yeah, but it had been up for 2 hours, and people messaged me, "Oh, I already screenshotted it," and I'm like, "That's cool, thanks for that."
How old were you
But
when it happened?
that I was like 21.
So you were kind of past the point of school bullying possibility.
Yeah, it wasn't a bullying thing, but it was just humiliating myself, kind of.
Embarrassing for sure.
Yeah.
And you didn't, did you go to college?
I did for a year and a half, but I never graduated because drugs.
Oh, that'll happen, right? So you fall in love with meth. Are you mostly smoking it?
Yeah, pretty much exclusively.
And like, how are you like keeping up with it? How often are you high all the time? Are you up for days on end?
Uh, towards when I got kicked out of the band, yes, but at first it
Why
was
did they kick you out of the band?
because Jake. Okay, so this Jake had just gotten sober. We were both trying to get sober, and he got sober first by like 4 or 5 months, right? And through that time, he continuously tried to communicate with me. I need you to be clean. Like, if we're going to be doing this, it's messing me up. I can't be around it. And in my active addiction, I just took that as like, fuck you, you, and I just didn't listen. And after a while, he just kind of asked me. It wasn't even like you're out. It was like, I can't do this. Can you please stop coming? Like, I need to be able to be clean, and you're coming high every time. And I just was at a point where I just didn't care. I was using a lot, and I just said, okay, so.
Did it break your heart?
Oh, it did, man. Like I was just like, cool, whatever, I don't care. But I went home and cried. I was devastated because I made that band with him when I was like 16, and I knew in my heart I was the only person at that moment tearing it down for myself.
Whatever became of Law?
Law went on after I left for about 2 or 3 years with a different group of guys, including Jacob, and then ultimately the project was discontinued and now kind of sits as a catalog on Wikipedia and Instagram as like the history of it.
Did Law ever, like, did you guys get a record deal? And would you say, did it make it easier to do drugs, or was it something that tethered you to actual life where you were doing less drugs because you were in it and your addiction exploded after you got kicked out?
It when we were in it, we didn't have a record deal, but because of Jake's connections with Sublime, it was kind of irrelevant for us. We had all the opportunities that a record deal would have provided, like big shows, opportunities to sell our album at kind of a larger scale. But while I was in the band, it kept me tethered. Now at this age, I'm in a band again, and it's another thing that keeps me really tethered. I just was young, and I didn't understand addiction at all. I thought it was something I could get away with just on the weekends, smoking a little speed and going crazy as long as I slept Sunday. And so it tethered me, but it also gave me access to a lifestyle I had never lived before. And I got too excited. I got kind of lost in it, I think.
Well, I mean, you're in a band in a place where where your bandmate is, he has the pass, like, to do it, and it's probably ridiculously exciting, but also a lot of pressure. And then I mean, I would have been, because you think you have the world in your hand, right? And it's also your old friend. It's a sad, I can imagine what that felt like. And after he kicks you out, he goes on, and how do you deal with it?
So I moved to Orange County to Dana Point right when I leave the band. I had a friend that just was moving there and he had some more money accessible and he was like, "Do you want to move in?" And I was like, "Sure." Because I was moving out of Long Beach, my apartment. So I went down there and I made a really close group of friends. I know it seems odd, but I guess I was so broken down from leaving the band that in that year that I first moved, I made this group of guys of friends that were really close, and we all partied together also. So not much changed in that area, but it helped me to refocus and recenter myself because the band was my identity. It was what I did from 16 to 22. So it definitely took some time to refocus myself.
And but you were saying that that was the first iteration of your addiction. So where does the second iteration start?
The second iteration is what I would call the serious addiction, where the things happen to people that usually happen far along the line. So I moved to Orange County and I become best friends with this guy named Robert, who was 2 years older than me. So I was 22, he was 24 or 25. And he was an incredible dude. He was really sweet. He was a rapper, and he introduced me to Orange County. But like me and Jake, he had a history of partying, and me and him went down a very long, dark path of selling coke, doing coke and selling it with a couple other friends, and then speed eventually. And that's when I started going to jail and stuff. That's when my first encounters with like getting in legal trouble started popping up for the most part.
What happened?
Well, I had been using for about 2 years, from 22 to 24. I was living there, using, selling, partying, just kind of living life like it was a big party. I was,
Feel free to tell story after story. That's the greatest.
okay, awesome. So I'm friends with this guy Robert and this other guy Fred and this other guy Austin. We're like this unit of like best friends there, and we hang out in San Clemente a lot at this place called the Triangle. It's these 3 bars, Oli's Tavern, Fox's, and this one other. And we were just pretty much there every night, uh, partying, but also selling blow, because this was 2015, 16, where people were paying $80, $100 for a gram, so we were making a ton of money, mostly just with our friends though, mostly just with our friends. And that's when we started getting into Oxy. And that really took a sharp turn, because we start doing the pills, to kind of manage the come down of the blow. We'd go out, party all night, and do the pills. And we started getting addicted to the pills, and then fentanyl started getting in the pills,
When's the first, I mean, you said the first drug you did was painkillers, opiates back in the day. When's the first time Oxy show up on Dana Point?
Probably about a year after I moved there. So like 2016, kind of 2016-ish. I'm starting to see a lot of people like, oh, I got these blues. I got these blues. I start seeing that word thrown around all the time.
And were you using a lot of coke because you're selling a lot of coke?
It's the opposite. I was selling coke because I was using a lot of coke. In reality, every dollar that I made went back into my habit. I never once walked away with money.
No, I get it. I totally get it. And when do you fall in love with the blues?
Right. So I've been doing coke pretty consistently from like, 20 to 20, 23, 24, and I start burning my nervous system out. So when I go out, I start doing it and not feeling good. I start having anxiety. I start feeling like, kind of sick in a weird way by the end of the night that I had never felt before. And that's when I really started loving the blues, because I realized, oh, I can do a little bit of blow and then snort half a blue and no consequences. So I thought. So that's kind of when that ramped up, definitely.
And like, do you fall into deep opiate addiction at that time?
Yeah, so I had the next 2 years from like 22 to 24 pretty much was just an increasingly ramp up of opiates. So it started with, the blues, the regular 30 milligram pills. And then there were the fentanyl pills, which I didn't do on purpose. That just started being circulated.
Sure.
And then I couldn't afford those, so I started buying heroin. And then I realized that it was still kind of cheaper just to buy the fentanyl pills. And I just kind of lived in like a cycle of that for 2 years until one morning my friend Robert, who had been the person that kind of brought me into Orange County and introduced me to everybody and really took care of me out there, he passed away. He overdosed.
Was it fentanyl?
And yeah, he thought he was just taking a blue. I was with him and we were partying, and I had just kind of just realized I started wanting to get clean, because the last 2 years had just been cocaine, meth, and blues, and we had been up till 2 a.m, and I said, I'm gonna go home. I'm not feeling good, so I leave and wake up at about 7 a.m. to his girlfriend just blowing my phone up, and she's just saying, "Robert's dead. Robert's dead," and I didn't even believe her, because I was just with him. I was in shock. And so I jump in my car and drive up. And sure enough, the ambulance had taken him away, and he had an overdose and he passed away.
And were you doing the same pills that he was doing?
Yeah.
And how was he using them?
I don't know when I left what he did, but in general, we were snorting little parts of them or popping half of them.
Right. So you weren't shooting them and you weren't smoking them. You were snorting them or eating them.
Yeah, I had shot in my own time with some other separate people a handful of times, but it wasn't a daily thing. It wasn't a part of what we always did, no.
Sorry about your friend. It's like that just seems to be the story whenever there's fentanyl around and fentanyl pills. And it's always like, I never did fentanyl. Like I got sober before fentanyl was around. And it's what killed Chris, who started the show with me. And we always talked about, he always would say how he wished he had tried it. And then as after he after he died and the show excuse me, got more popular and stuff, everybody would say the same thing to me, which is like, why would people use fentanyl if it kills you? And me not being a fentanyl user, like I would just say, well, I'm sure most people don't die from fentanyl and they like it. You know, as a fentanyl user out there, like when everyone's dying around you, how are you dealing with it?
Um, I, I got, but it made me get sober. I lost Robert, a cousin, and then 3 other friends in 2 months, all from fentanyl. And it kind of made me have a mental breakdown. I'm going to be 100% honest. Like, I kind of lost my mind for a little bit. Uh, and I realized that that was going to be me next. And that not only that, that half the people I'd spent the last couple of years with were no longer there. And I called my grandma crying and I said, I need to check into a hospital right now. Like, this is it for me. I need to check into a hospital and get help. And I drove down to her house, completely high out of my mind. And she drove me to the San Diego hospital. And I had to get like Medi-Cal. I had to tell them I was at risk of hurting myself to get instant Medi-Cal in California. They'll give you temporary 10-day Medi-Cal if you say that, so you can get into a treatment center.
And that was it. That's how you got better.
Yeah, Robert passing away, and then my cousin and the other people passing away right after. It was too much. I had lost my band and this whole new friend group that I made that was like my new identity, all gone. Like almost overnight it felt like, you know.
So sad. And but it's a miracle that it had that effect on you. Like that's the one upside of any, cuz you know the old kind of street story is when you hear about somebody dying, all of the addicts want to do that drug because it's so strong. But in your situation, your friend died and you were like, fuck this. Were you scared? Were you just, I mean, you said you were in shock. What was, describe the feelings, please.
I felt like the little light inside my heart that kind of guides me towards like being a decent person and living life in a way I can accept was fading when my friend died. And I felt it wasn't so much fear of dying, more so fear of I felt like I was losing myself completely. Like I had no morals that I had morals, but I wasn't acting on them. Like a good friend would have talked to their friends first and been like, "Hey, you guys have been using a lot," or "Hey, you seem depressed," and it made me reevaluate how I got to where I was in my life, and that maybe I needed to start being a better person myself and making better choices for myself.
Do you think like, were they using heavier than you were when they died?
No, I was.
Yeah. So why would you have thought to ask them when no, I mean, like you're deep in the throes of addiction. Like there was no way you were going to ask them. Like,
No, and I know that now, but at the time it really weighed heavily on my conscience that I had that kind of survivor's guilt of
sure.
why didn't, I knew it was a problem, why didn't I say anything? But like you said, I was in it myself, I was deeper in it.
So where do you check in?
um it's the hospital in San Diego. What is it called?
Yeah, it doesn't
It'll
matter.
come to me in a sec, but it's just a hospital in San Diego.
And you go detox there?
Yeah, I do medical detox and I'm there for 2 weeks, grueling 2 weeks, um, where they end up putting me on methadone, which is the last chapter of my addiction. So I'm there for 2 weeks, and then I was at a recovery home, like a state funded one, for 2 weeks, and then I moved in with my mom for a bit. And my first 4 years getting clean were a big haze because I was on methadone. I've only been off of methadone for a year and a half.
Nice.
So they started me at 100 milligrams because of the amount that I had been using,
Yeah.
and man, that was hard to stop, David. Like, out of everything, when I quit the methadone, bro, like, I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
No, I was on methadone for a long time. So I know what that feels like getting off of methadone. And I know for me, when I got off, I was at like 140, 150 milligrams, also in Southern California. It took me a year to get off. And when I got off of it, I was so excited to be off of it. And I mean, I wound up doing drugs again, but I never wound up doing methadone again. How did you get off?
Um, so I had been on it for, let's see, get sober at 24. I'd been on it for about 4 or 5 years, so I'm heading towards 29. I'm 31 now, by the way, just for context. And I just start to I kind of just have this epiphany that I'm seeing a therapist, so it's not like I just have this on my own. I'm doing a lot of work to try to better myself, talking to a therapist, and I realized that I'm never going to turn the corner that I want to turn if I'm on methadone for the rest of my life,
So
which
what,
is
like,
just to feel
so
a
how
part
did,
of the world.
what was the dosage you were on?
100.
You just stayed at 100. You didn't go up.
No, I just stayed at 100. Yeah.
And you're on for 4 years. And during that time, were you using anything else, or would you just go to the clinic every day and get your whatever, drink it?
Just I think maybe one time in that 4 years, I drank one time. I went out with some old friends and I thought like maybe I could just have a beer. But I felt so sick to my stomach, probably from the methadone and drinking, that it actually completely scared me away from ever attempting that again. So for the most part, yeah, I was. It was just the methadone.
And no pills, no coke, no speed, no nothing.
Nothing. No, no. I have not done any of that since 24 when I first got off of the big stuff, the big three or whatever.
Do you think it was because you felt just so traumatized by your friend's death? Do you think that's what did it?
Yeah, that was the final needle in the haystack. My whole life had been drugs. My dad was an addict. Ever since I was born, it had been what had been holding me back. I never had my dad in my life, or when I did, he was. I hate to say the word abusive because it kind of implies someone physically hurt you, but he wasn't a great dad. He wasn't abusive, but he wasn't a great dad. He did a lot more harm than good. And then as a teenager I used, and then I joined this band and I used, and then I make these new friends and I use, and they die, and it was just, you got to be pretty fucking thick to not start after 30 years of something to not start seeing, okay, like this is ruining my life.
I got sober when I was 41, you know, and nobody had died. No, for me, nobody in my circle had died. And I was just lonely and I had a kid and everything, in that way, it was like, I was like, enough's enough. But I could imagine like the deaths being the thing that push you over the edge. How did you get off the methadone, and how would you advise someone to get off the methadone?
I would advise, unless you're a fucking psychopath, to taper. I would advise to taper. I would do every to see what you can do with your body, but generally like every 2 weeks to a month, drop another like 2 to 4 milligrams, depending on how fast you can go, and keep that pace. But if you feel too sick, stop. Because I didn't stop because I'm kind of like cuckoo determined about stuff sometimes. And I kept scaling down, and I got to a point where I was like, like really not mentally well because I was not giving myself a break on the dose downs.
You just like were like 4 milligrams a week or something. How long did it take to go from 100 to off?
Like a year, because I had a lot of little breaks, a lot of little pauses after after I got to 20. It took me longer
It's
because I started
scary, right?
feeling.
At 20, it's scary to like walk away.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh shit, like I'm here, I'm gonna be off soon. But then I went to 4 milligrams kind of pretty quick from 20 after over like 3 or 4 months, and then I just stopped right at 4.
And you didn't go in and you didn't take anything else, and that was it.
Yeah, I told my grandma. I live with my grandma, who's been amazingly supportive of my recovery, by the way, and my channel. And I just told her I'm going to be really uncomfortable for a few weeks, probably. And it wasn't as bad as I thought, the actual getting off, but the taper process, the whole going from 100 down, it's like being in this like uncomfortable fog for a year. At least for me, that was my experience with it.
Did you smoke weed after the taper or no?
Yes, I did. That's kind of where I started smoking again. Not blaming my therapist, but I have a therapist, and I told her my relationship with weed. She knows all about my addiction. And I said, I've been smoking from time to time, and it's been really helping. And she told me that's okay as long as you're not doing anything else, and as long as you're able to maintain yourself. It's not the end of the world. And I think it really depends on your relationship with it. Like I myself, I've been able to every once in a while smoke a little and not constantly smoke. Not feel like I need to always be smoking or anything.
I know when I got off methadone, I needed weed, like I needed it, and I was so happy to have it. When I got off benzos and methadone at the same time, and
Oh my god,
I was
dude.
so happy to have bud. And it's funny. It's funny how that is. I think all that it comes down to is quality of life. Like if you could have a great quality of life and smoke bud, fantastic. If you can, I mean, but if you can have a great quality of life and do heroin, good for you. Like it's all about like where your quality of life is. When you get off the methadone, you start smoking bud, you're in therapy, no meetings.
No, I did meetings when I very first got sober and actually started the methadone. I did like 6 months of meetings, and I had a hard time connecting with people. I think because of the methadone, in all honesty. My emotional connecting points just weren't there, and I just kind of felt like I wasn't getting anything out of it. But so many people get so much help from it, so I hesitate to even say that because I don't want to shy people away. It works for a ton of people.
Well, there's a mess of people that listen, that go to meetings. There's a mess of people that go to AA, that go to NA, that do Dharma, that do nothing. Like Dopey Nation does a Zoom thing. They do 25 meetings a week where they just do this kind of non-denominational recovery Zoom where people might smoke weed or people might uh not be working 12 step or it's like the idea is community. The idea is being able to talk to people. I mean, that I think is the best thing about any kind of fellowship is being in the same boat with other people. And it sounds like you're getting a lot of community just from your page, from your channel.
Now, yeah, that's been like I've had people ask me like, "Oh, did you start this channel to bring awareness to addiction?" And I think it would be a flagrant lie for me to say yes, because I did not start it in any kind of like altruistic, ambitious, like I'm going to show people the reality. But I will say that as the community did build, it's changed the way I look at the content and the way I make things. So like my next content journey is going to be doing interviews with people, recovering addicts that are like satirical interviews that have a really funny twist to them, because yeah, like you see people, you see other addicts, and you start to feel like, okay, like there are other things I can do with this other than just like surface level jokes about our condition. I might be able to really talk to people, and that to me is like a big dream. I've always wanted to be able to connect and to know people, and it's it's what life's all about.
Yeah, I think you just described exactly the way I feel about what I get to do, in that it was never meant to be altruistic in any way. And it was just meant to be fun. And then also all the like self-centered greed and fame and all that prestige. Like Chris and I wanted all that. I still enjoy all that. But when we can be altruistic and when we can actually help somebody, it feels good. It's funny though, like because you saw our Instagram page just got taken down and it got put back up, but I had this lady who was, and we had this woman who was doing it for me. I was paying her to run our social media, and she always suggested having you on the show. And and I was like, okay. And then we started talking and we figured it out. But when the page got taken down, she was sure it was because somebody, some meme person, you know what I mean? Some junkie meme person put something up. It was a meme about smoking weed, kicking opiates. All right. And it was like some meme saying it wasn't good. Like weed doesn't help kicking
Yeah.
opiates. And it was like the meme was like the dude was like tweaked out or bugged out from like it wasn't a good mix. And I think I
Yeah.
wrote in the comments, I found weed very helpful when I was kicking opiates. And the woman was like, they definitely flagged you for that because you said weed is helpful or whatever. So like what have you like when did you get so involved with this junkie Instagram business?
About, let's see, right at the start of 2025, I decided I was going to start taking Instagram more seriously. I had been working on it a few months before, and but like I said, I saw Jimmy's content, and that was the first time I ever saw someone's content, and I felt like this is hilarious, and I feel like I could do something similar to this. I'd always been a troll and a jokester within my friend group. So I start making these little funny skits where I'm using props like how he did. Like I had fake cocaine and I was like, if he doesn't get you this on Valentine's Day, he's not a real man kind of thing. Like kind of like baiting a little. And it did well. It got millions of views, but then it got flagged and taken down. Then I had another post flagged and
Wait,
taken
why did it
down.
get flagged and taken down? They just took down another one of mine too.
Uh they always give like the same bullshit excuse, which is that like I'm promoting either unhealthy behavior or the possible sale of narcotics.
Me too. So what do you do about that?
Um, I made a new account. That's why I made Noddygod, because Real Bad Wolf got striked and then it got flagged and I couldn't go. My page was shadow banned for like a month. Basically, I
How
couldn't.
big was Real Bad Wolf?
Only 12,000 followers, not huge.
How long did it take to build Naughty Got up?
I've had that account for 3 months.
That's crazy. How did it do so well so fast?
Um, Honestly, it's a little crazy to me too. Like I have posts that have gotten me like 5 to 10,000 followers just from single posts. I think it was just a new concept. Like the nodding thing has been so hot on the internet. You got Ollie B, Jake Scowley, a bunch of other people doing it, and I think it was like the perfect time to come in as an arbitrator, like rating these things. People were just like, "What the fuck is this? I'm gonna follow."
When did you get the idea?
um, Probably 4 months ago. I put it into action like right when I had the idea. I
So
was like, I gotta do this
tell me the
now.
whole story of where the idea of rating nods comes from.
So I was looking at channels that were doing really well, and the theme that I saw consistently was that they have a format of a TV show. Like they drop episodes of something that are reoccurring so that when people see it, they are like, I don't want to miss the next one and follow. And so I just was brainstorming what I could do in my world like that. And that's when I saw the Dirty Cola account, who is permanently banned now for the exact same stuff we're talking about. He was rating cups of lean. And it was so simple, just like 7 out of 10, too dirty, looks gross, or whatever. He'd say he's funnier than that, but he'd say some funny shit. And instantly, when I saw that, my first thought was like, someone's got to rate nods because, like, people are just nodding everywhere nowadays.
Such a good idea. Um, I'm trying to figure out like what the fuck am I gonna do on this stupid social media? I started posting man in the street videos that are doing a bit better. I just, like I didn't know what to do. I like your concept of trying to do like a TV show where each post is a bit of a TV show. I like that idea. What do you think I should do, Naughty God? What do you think I should do?
I would take the format that you're already using and and pre-work with people to ask really abrasive or funny questions and then clip those for Instagram. So like I mean, it's kind of what you already do, just going through the funniest bits of your clips, or if you want to start something, you kind of have an endless gold mine because you're constantly talking to addicts. So I would just choose like a couple topics and format those like the show of a topic. So like you can have one where you're talking about, like you talk about recovery, right? You could have a specific episode just talking about relapse, like the relapse episode, you know? And that's just like the theme of that running chains of episodes. But that's just one idea. You just got to take a theme and run with it for a
I like
while.
that idea. When's the last time you nodded?
Yeah. Like 24 years old, right before I got sober.
How important was nodding to you?
Oh my God. It was my whole life. If I couldn't have a good nod at the end of the day, I couldn't sleep.
What did you do? Because I know for me, right? I needed to nod. I didn't want to do. I was shooting heroin, and if I didn't nod, it was like, what's the point of shooting heroin? And the things that I would do to nod, personally, I would read comics. That would make me nod. I would play guitar. That would always make me nod. I'd watch TV, and I'd smoke cigarettes. And I did those over and over again. I'd read comics, I'd play guitar, I'd watch TV and smoke cigarettes. And I would always nod out. What would you do to get a good nod?
That's first off, that's such a relatable loop. I love that. Really similar. I would smoke cigarettes, I'd watch anime, and I'd play guitar or play on my phone. Pretty much exactly the same. Now, mind you, when fentanyl came around, it only takes a little bump of that to get nodded. I mean, you crush half of one of those and snort it, and within 2 minutes, you're, huh? you know?
When everybody's saying that fentanyl doesn't have legs, what do they mean?
Uh, I'm assuming they mean it doesn't keep you high for very long.
I think so. But do you find that to be your experience with it versus oxys or heroin?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You find yourself within 15 or 20 minutes having that feeling of craving coming in again. Versus oxy, you can go a couple hours, 2 hours if you're lucky.
I feel like if we get to make a dopey TV show, like a real TV show, you could be like the nod commentator. And we'd be like, now we're going to go to the Noddygod rating nods.
Oh, I would love that. I have a whole list of phrases I've created. Some of them I haven't created, I've appropriated, like Charm City Rainbow, uh, Boston Street Shuffle.
Wait, what's
I
the
got all the
Charm City?
terms ready.
What's the Charm City Rainbow? Go through some of these things. What's the Charm City Rainbow?
So the Charm City Rainbow is, in my world, is a kind of a offshoot of the horseshoe. So the horseshoe, I'm just gonna give you a little example. The horseshoe, just like a classic
Yeah.
position. And a Charm City Rainbow is when they start getting like a slant to it. You know what I mean? Like start stepping over to the side. But we got the nod walk shuffle, which is when you're nodding, moving forward. You know how some people nod and they're still moving somehow?
Yeah.
The nod walk shuffle. Baltimore street yoga, one of my favorite terms.
Did you invent that?
No, definitely not. A lot of these I get messaged or they're in the comments, and I'm just like, that's fucking hilarious, and I just write it down. I have made some of them like nod enhancing drugs, Osama bin Laden, little terms like that.
What about Sheriff of Nottingham?
Sheriff of Nottingham. That was like a double thing. I had already came up with the Nottingham thing, and then a bunch of people were like, Sheriff of Nottingham, Sheriff of Nottingham. I have the Prince and Princess of Nottingham, Nodvocados. Yeah, these are ridiculous.
What else you
Nod
got?
wave.
What else?
The Scarecrow.
What makes
Surly.
wait, hold on. What makes somebody the scarecrow?
Oh man, the Scarecrow is when they're just like,
You see, I feel like I'm not even a real drug addict because I was never fucking nodding standing up. I was certainly never nodding like walking around the city. Like that was
This
you never found me nodding and walking at the same time.
Well, look, I when I was younger and I shot H maybe like 5 or 10 times. That was like a pure nod. Like you do it, you sit there and you're
Yeah.
you're like melt. But Fetty is a little different. Fetty gives you these like energetic nods where you're like you're the part of your brain that like moves doesn't turn off, but everything else does.
So what does that look like?
It looks like what you see in my videos, basically. Just people, like this going.
So it's like serious zombie business.
Yeah, like serious zombie business, like all the way to the ground, snapping back up.
What are you like what was I going to ask? Is in your opinion is heroin ever going to come back or is it over?
Uh, it's hard to say. I think it's kind of like no, it probably won't, but more because of capitalism than because of anything else.
Of course.
Like, and when I say that, I mean like the profit margins like just aren't there anymore. Like compared to these big groups selling like cartels and stuff selling fentanyl and stuff, they can mass produce this stuff in small labs and ship it out for millions and millions of dollars. The process is a lot cheaper and more accessible for them, to my understanding. So I think as long as that's happening, probably not.
It makes you wonder though, like what are the poppy growers doing? Like are they selling it exclusive to the super wealthy who are feeling safer about doing heroin than fentanyl? Does it make heroin much more expensive cuz fentanyl is everywhere else? Do you know anything about this?
My understanding is that fentanyl has made its way into heroin.
Right, it has.
And
But it's like if you think about it though, like I'm sure did you see the movie Pulp Fiction?
yeah,
You know where you have that character, the Eric Stoltz character, who's got the three different kinds of heroin, and he's describing each of them. And the
kind of white.
right, the madman, the one that's like whatever, $200 a gram or whatever. I don't remember the price, but it makes you think that a heroin maker is gonna who has the really, really, really pure heroin to not add fentanyl because there isn't any heroin, wouldn't that make it like more attractive and almost like some like bougie product like that isn't like a street product? It's only the most premium product.
And I'm sure if you're in Hollywood and you have enough money, all those things are a reality. I'm sure that there is a guy who does exactly what you're saying, who's the fucking best at his job. I just don't know him.
I wonder though, I would love to know about like what I mean I'm sort of I mean I'm interested in recovery. I love recovery, but I'm also interested in the economics of the drug world and if fentanyl has supplanted all heroin, like what happened to the poppy farmers? What happened to the heroin makers?
The great irony is that they're probably just selling to pharmaceutical companies now.
That is a great irony. And what other junkie and recovery pages do you love? Like who are your favorites?
I follow you. I follow, Jimmy, who am you? Regret Maxing is a meme page, but he's actually a recovering addict as well, who a lot of his content is adjacent to a lot of the stuff we talk about. Um, and then Dirty Cola, but his page got completely taken down.
Did you know him?
In the way we know each other, yeah. Like we had a rapport and we talked and we were friends online and stuff.
Did you ever get to talk to him after his page went down?
Yeah, I have his number. He kind of just he had been dealing with this for a while off and on, and he pretty much said I'm done. He has a degree in graphic marketing or graphic design, so he's just pursuing the real life stuff now.
What do you do for real life stuff?
I do a couple things. I very humbly drive Uber, but I drive Uber sometimes, but I also mix and master music. So I mix and master projects for people. But recently, most of my finances have been just I've been kind of burning through savings recently, just trying to build this new channel. So I'm gonna have to start doing a little bit more groundwork here soon.
Music or no?
Yeah, I make money from music, but I'm in a band
I mean, are
with
you
four other
playing?
people.
Forget about money. Like, are you playing? Are you having fun making music?
Oh yeah, oh my God, yeah. I just played Warp Tour last weekend on Saturday.
What's the band called?
Somehow Unseen.
Awesome. And what do you
Yeah,
play?
we're
You
on
play bass?
Instagram, everything.
You play bass in the band?
Yeah, I play bass and I mix and master the music.
Sick. All right, Dakota. This has been a lot of fun. If you ever want to make a dopey song, I'll totally play it.
Dude, we could totally whip something up like that.
All right, cool, man. And people could find you. Where can they find you? Noddygod on Instagram. Is it Noddygod everywhere?
Yeah, on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Noddygod, and my band is Somehow Unseen.
Awesome. And then would you be so kind and thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And would you ever collab with me on a reel?
Absolutely, 100%.
So let's pick one. Pick one and let's do it.
Okay, you want me to make one, or do you want to do it out of this episode?
No, I want to do one of your naughty ones.
Oh, yes, no problem. Absolutely.
Because I think that the content is really perfect for us.
Yeah, I'll message you, I'll text you beforehand and show you what I was going to collab, and then you can say yes or no, and
And
then
you maybe you could be like, because you're like a commentator, right? Like you're a nod commentator, and maybe you could be like, "What's up? You know, what do you call your audience?"
the Naudience.
Great. What's up, Naudians? And I want to like you could do something like where you welcome the Dopey Nation to the Naudians, and then you'll probably get like some crossover, and it'll be a lot of fun.
I'm writing this down. Dopey Nation Naughty intro.
And we might be doing another show in Los Angeles in January, so you have to come if we do.
Oh, I was, dude, last time I didn't even know about it till like the day of. I was kind of bummed because I totally would have loved to come and see it all.
It was a disaster, but I would next time you should come. It'll be cool.
I'll definitely be there for sure. Unless I'm like out of the state for a show, I will be there for sure.
All right. Well, I appreciate coming through, Dakota. And if you need anything from me, just let me know.
Yeah, thanks so much, David. It's been awesome talking on the Dopey podcast, and have a great day.
You too, man. Thanks.